And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other. And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Just when we thought wokeness was gasping for its final breath, Rachel Zegler, Disney's so-called Snow White, yanked us right back into the insanity. Because apparently just acting in a movie isn't enough anymore. Nope. Every press tour now has to double as a self-righteous lecture on why anything pre-2016 was a crime against civilization. But when Mars catches a whiff of woke absurdity, he doesn't just roll his eyes, he eviscerates it. Today we're breaking down Mars' ruthless takedown of Zegler's Snow White catastrophe. Buckle up, because this one's going to be brutal. Let's get straight to it.
Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other.
All right, I'll roll the clip in a second, but for those of you, like Mars guests, who have no clue what's going on, here's the quick rundown. Rachel Zegler played Snow White. Gal Gadot played the evil queen. Simple, right? Well, not quite. In the lead-up to the movie's release, Zegler decided it was the perfect moment to tweet her support for Palestine. Now here's where things went nuclear. Gal Gadot is a former member of the Israeli Defense Forces. Naturally, the internet did what it does best, lost its collective mind. Some reports even claimed Gadot received threats, forcing Disney to ramp up security for her and her family. And when Zegler was asked if she regretted stirring the pot and potentially putting her co-star in danger, she didn't backtrack, she doubled down. So that's the backdrop to the clip you just watched. Now let's get back to Mars' brutal takedown.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
And honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, there's 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Maybe the woke left should drop the whole progressive act and just call themselves regressive, because the lunacy here is unreal. We all grew up loving Snow White, and I'm pretty sure the original writers weren't pushing some woke agenda. But now, we can't even have real dwarfs in Snow White because, get this, Disney didn't want to reinforce stereotypes. So instead they went full CGI. Brilliant, right? Yeah, I screamed too. Because somehow replacing real actors with animated versions is supposed to fix the problem. Spoiler, it doesn't. If anything, it erases opportunities for an entire group of actors who already struggle to land roles in Hollywood. But that, my friends, is Disney's idea of inclusivity, hiring fewer people while patting themselves on the back for being progressive. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, here's Rachel Zegler talking about being woke. Brace yourselves for a cringe fest.
Can you tell us a little bit about your version of Snow White?
Yeah, Snow White is the girl you remember, but she's definitely made for the modern age, and there's such an emphasis on what it really means to be the fairest of them all. And for Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town who's...
Did you catch the sarcasm dripping from her voice? The not-so-subtle shade at her co-star, Gal Gadot? Oh, it's there. Because to Zegler, Gal isn't just another actress. She's the embodiment of old-school conservatism, a relic of the past that must be torn down. And who's leading the charge into this brave new woke utopia? Rachel Zegler, of course. Talk about delusion. But here's the real kicker about the woke mob. They're not just out of touch with reality. They're vindictive. In their world, anyone who dares to question their narrative isn't just wrong. They're an enemy who must be eradicated. We'll dig deeper into that in a bit, but first, let me roll another clip of Rachel Zegler in her natural habitat, spouting nonsense like it's a full-time job.
Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut, who knows?
I warned you. I told you to brace for a cringe fest, and here we are, knee-deep in yet another woke disaster. Seriously, why does the woke left have this insatiable need to ruin everything? We all grew up loving Snow White for what it was, a fairy tale, not a political manifesto. But now someone sat there thinking, is this prince a problematic stalker? Suddenly, Snow White isn't a love story anymore. It's oppression wrapped in animation and the prince. Just another straight white male violating boundaries. And of course, the woke mob doesn't stop there. They want everything rewritten, rebranded, and re-educated to fit their agenda. Forget classic romance, forget feel-good storytelling. It's all about pushing social justice lectures now. Honestly, I can't wait for the day we go back to movies being made for entertainment, not political agendas. Back when studios cared about stories, not appeasing activists. If this keeps up, we'll need fairy tales just to remember what sanity looks like. If you think Zegler's madness is recent, think again. Check out this tweet she sent when Trump won. I find myself speechless. Another 4 years of hatred, leading us toward a world I wouldn't want to live in. Heartbroken for my friends who awoke in fear this morning.
We have a moment for Rachel Zegler and Snow White because there is an update in that story. Today, there was an in-depth piece, like a behind-the-scenes piece. Was it Variety? Talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her. And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, good job, Rachel. And then she, like, minutes later, followed it up with, and never forget, free Palestine. This is just like a few months after 10/7. It was like, it hadn't even been a year. And they were like, my God, what?
And isn't her co-star Jewish?
Yes, Gal Gadot, whatever.
Gadot.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
She's Jewish, and apparently this actually, all hell broke loose.
Rachel Zegler seems to be the albatross around Disney's neck. No matter how much damage she does, they just can't shake her off. She's like a walking, talking bad omen, dragging Snow White straight into the abyss of Hollywood disasters. At this point, they might as well rename it Woke White and the 7 box office flops. If Zegler and Disney had just ditched the relentless woke preaching and focused on making a fun movie, maybe, just maybe, this film wouldn't be shaping up to be one of Disney's biggest embarrassments. But no, instead of magic on the screen, they turned Snow White into a social justice thesis, and audiences responded with a resounding no thanks. Now Disney's stuck with an actress who alienates fans, a film nobody wanted, and a box office disaster on the horizon. Maybe next time they'll remember that people go to the movies for entertainment, not activist lectures disguised as fairy tales. And now it seems someone on Zegler's team or at Disney realized the damage her woke tweets were doing to the film, so they convinced her to make a half-hearted apology video. Take a look.
Hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
One thing's for sure about the woke crowd, they'll do anything for money, even if it means cranking out a half-baked apology video after the backlash hits their wallets. But does anyone really believe Zegler or Disney have genuine regrets? Not a chance. They're not sorry for what they did. They're sorry they got caught. Neither Zegler nor Disney has reflected on their actions. If anything, they're doubling down, thinking the audience is just too backwards to get it. The only thing that might make Disney reconsider their woke obsession? Bankruptcy. The truth is, people are done with being lectured. They want entertainment, not political agendas hijacking their childhood classics. If Disney keeps choosing wokeness over storytelling, they deserve every empty theater seat and every loss. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.